always aiming to do better, always aiming to do better, always aiming to do better. We're dealing with a single definition, emotional manifesting generator. This is not about other people telling you don't do that and you trust them. This is about other people telling you don't do that and you go, yeah, why not? I'm gonna go do it. I need to find out. This is someone who needs to have influence amongst his friends. This is somebody who is always looking for opportunities to, in essence, corrupt somebody else with his own perspective, with his own ideals. And now what is he opportunistically influencing people with? Well, the caution of the prophet and the ideas of the teacher. You see, he's got something to say and he really wants to teach you about his ideas because he is a prophet of caution. And in his unconscious, he is the peacemaker of friction, and he has justice through the crisis. You see, he's here to bring justice to crisis situations. He's here to bring peacemaking and conflict resolution to all the friction that's going on. He doesn't care about the validation. That's an ego thing. I don't need your validation. However, I really love when you provide me with a sense of self, when you provide me with a sense of direction, because I don't necessarily always know who I am. Hello there. Welcome to Dharma Science Radio. My name is Ian, and it's my job to provide you with the most foundational and practically beneficial awareness around human design and the body graph that I possibly can. Today we're talking about somebody who's made a bit of a stir with the latest Super Bowl, Mr. Kendrick Lamar. So the first thing I'd like to say is, Mr. Kendrick, if you happen to see this video and you would like it taken down, feel invited to let me know. However, I would much rather have a genuine conversation with you about the mechanics at play. I find it so much more fulfilling to dive into our problems and our challenges rather than try to push them under the rug. So with those details out of the way, let's dive right on in. So the first thing that stuck out to me when I began looking at this chart was the heavy definition. We're dealing with a single definition, emotional, manifesting generator. You see, we have the sacral to the root, to the spleen, to the ego, and spleen to the throat, to the solar plexus. Very powerful single definition structure right here. Something about the single definition structure is that these people tend to not care a whole lot about other people necessarily. They tend to not need other people in order to feel whole, as opposed to a split definition person. Split definitions tend to either make pair bondings or need to be around the crowd and the group in order to connect them together in different ways. However, Kendrick is single definition. He's a whole unit inside of himself, and very powerful one at that. With only 3 undefined centers, his mind is most interested in pretending to be certain about something that doesn't matter in order to gain the love and direction outside of himself that his mind can't provide. You see, the mind can go into this undefined G and make a problem out of, I don't know where I'm going in this life. I'm going to get preoccupied with something that doesn't matter and pretend to be certain, pretend to know what I'm talking about, because in the 17th gate, I've got my opinions. I've got the specific logical judgments about things. And in this 11, I have the ideals. I have the ideas, and I'm certain I'm right. And if I can pretend to be certain I'm right, then I can gain access to your direction, and we can be occupied with things that don't matter till the end of time. So something about this profile that's very interesting is that we're looking at a 4-6 profile. The 4th line in the conscious personality means that this is someone who needs to have influence amongst his friends. This is somebody who is always looking for opportunities to, in essence, corrupt somebody else with his own perspective, with his own ideals. And now corruption is not an inherently negative thing. Corruption simply means I have influenced you with my perspective, and now you have joined on to my perspective. You see, corruption is simply the nature of the fourth line. It is the nature of being influential. It is not inherently negative. It is not inherently positive. It's simply the nature of being influenced. And now what is he opportunistically influencing people with? Well, the caution of the prophet and the ideas of the teacher. You see, he's got something to say and he really wants to teach you about his ideas because he is a prophet of caution in one way, shape, or form. And in his unconscious, he is the peacemaker of friction, and he has justice through the crisis. You see, he's here to bring justice to crisis situations. He's here to bring peacemaking and conflict resolution to all the friction that's going on. And so the sixth line in the unconscious means there is immense pressure within his body. He doesn't necessarily know all the pressure that's going on in his unconscious unless he pays attention and feels into himself. The thing is, the sixth line goes through a tripartite life process where in the first 30 years of life, they are living as if a third line. Trial and error, the school of hard knocks, making mistakes for the sake of making mistakes and learning to see what happens firsthand. This is not about other people telling you don't do that and you trust them. This is about other people telling you don't do that and you go, yeah, why not? I'm gonna go do it. I need to find out. And then the second 20 years of life, from 30 to 50 or so, is all about making sense of all that third line trial and erroring from the first 30 years. This is becoming objective, taking a step back from the world, being like, I'm not involved with all that stuff, although I can really see something there. I can see a perspective there, and I can use my fourth line in the personality to opportunistically share influence with you and throughout my network to grow my foundations, to grow my influence even greater. And so something I had mentioned that somebody said was correct around Taylor Swift in her profile is that she's a sixth line, and after she turned 30, her music had some difference within it. So if you pay attention to Kendrick's music, you might notice before and after 30 years of age, there's been a difference. And sooner or later, we'll see after he comes down off the roof, once he's 50 or so years old, there's a difference again that will take hold as he leaves the objectivity of the aloofness of being on the roof. You see, this is when the sixth line has the most prime opportunity to make physical wealth, to develop their world all around them. After they come down off the roof, there is this change wherein now they have to be re-immersed into the world. And so something you might see there is somebody who then begins contributing to charity. They begin supporting other people in different ways that might not have been expected. It could also be a time when somebody has disorders or diseases that show up yet again because they didn't actually develop a unique truth during those 20 years and they don't live up to it. You see, this is the nature of the sixth line, is that you got those 30 years of trial and error. You've got 20 years to develop your truth, and then you come down off the roof and you are a living role model of the truth that you have specifically developed as your perspective on life.
The biggest problem I was having was getting my head wrapped around all of the content and all of the information held within the human design system. Ian really made it simple for me to engage my curiosity for one, but made it approachable enough to where I felt like I could immediately get value out of the conversation and immediately start applying things to my day-to-day life where it didn't seem like some big puzzle I had to solve. It was an immediate solution to something that I was dealing with in my life. How am I going to apply this with any sense of reality? And he made it so simple and so easy that I have now been on another year and a half since that first meeting with him and my first introduction into human design. And it has really given my overall life experience and the quality of my conscious experience a great boost, and overall something I would highly recommend to anyone else that's early on in their years, or even months sometimes, like I was at human design.
I've been following Ian for about a year now, and I got the chance to work with him recently. The way that his knowledge of human design expands when you're in his presence to fit what you need exactly is something that is a joy to work with and a joy to see live in person.
Oh my gosh, this session was so unique because Ian really made it feel like I didn't have to worry about expectations. I didn't have to have a certain outcome be a certain way, and really helped me understand that I could just kind of ease my way into this. And he was so conversational about it that it felt like I looked up and the time had gone so quickly that I wasn't expecting it to be as much value as it was for as easy as it felt.
I definitely recommend getting a reading, getting a chance to work with Ian. He's one of the kindest souls I've met and has a really firm grasp on the information in human design. Definitely recommend.
I would recommend working with Ian for anyone that is wanting to have someone that will be both there to nurture your curiosity about human design and the fun things that you can explore about it, but also will challenge you and push you in a direction that will get you up and moving and using it in your real life. I think more than anything else, if you want to not just mentally know this system, if you want to understand how to apply it and use it and see immediate results, Ian is the person I would recommend for that. I think it is important for people to remember that this is an experiment. It is not something that you can try without trying. Like can't get the flavor of something unless you've chewed it up and swallowed it, right? And this is one of those things where Ian does such a wonderful job of making each thing that you're experiencing understandable and allows you to apply it with repetition. So it's not just a one time thing. You learn how to build really good habits and how to build really good ways to honor your own authority in your own life. And from there, he lets you go and then you can fly. It's pretty remarkable how well he sets up my overall experience within human design for the purpose of changing my life, which it really did.
And if you do that genuinely as a sixth line, then you are a role model and people can look up to you. People can follow in your footsteps. They can ride the wave of the motion of your ocean because you have such a grand impact. And now the other side of that is the hypocrisy. If the sixth line does not develop their truth, then they are stuck being a hypocrite. Do as I say, not as I do, and the program, the world, life, doesn't need more hypocrites. I don't know if you've noticed, but we have enough of them. And so they tend to pass on sooner than later if they cannot live up to the truth they've developed for themselves. And so we've already spoken a little bit about Kendrick's not self, this need to be certain about something that doesn't matter in order to attain direction and love from outside of himself. He doesn't care about the validation. That's an ego thing. I don't need your validation. However, I really love when you provide me with a sense of self, when you provide me with a sense of direction, because I don't necessarily always know who I am. Because I'm thinking about all kinds of different things. It doesn't matter if it matters or not. I could think about anything. And if I get identified with that thinking, I need to be certain. I need to be correct. I'm the teacher here. I'm the one who knows what he's talking about. You listen to me. And he's an ego being of the transmitter after all. You see, transmitters have a design of surrender. They have a natural quality about them that means they have something to say. There's a message coming through that cannot be held back because they're speaking from the heart to the spleen. And now the spleen is all about survival awareness. This is about our instincts, our base judgmentations, the intuition. It all comes out from the spleen, and he's speaking directly to the unconscious in that sense. And what is his message about? Well, this message is about correcting the patterns. This 1858, this is a channel of judgment and a design of insatiability. This is somebody who is always striving to reach greater heights. This is somebody who is always aiming to do better, always aiming to do better, always aiming to do better. And with the 1848 as well, that means this drive to correct the pattern is not simply complaining. If he had a hanging 18th gate without the 58, then it would just be complaining and bickering about other people and all the stuff they do wrong. However, he's a 58-18, so he has the adrenal stress pressure to adjust to his own criticisms, and then through the 48-16 to practice what he preaches, to try it out again and again and again, until eventually he gets it right. He gets the right verse, he gets that right bar, he gets that right communication. You know, he's done it 100 million billion times, and he's going to do it again, and he's going to do it again, and he's going to do it again. It's the nature of this 1648, is to try again and again and again to practice at communicating something of value. Not only that, he's a social being. This 1222, this is a very profound channel. It connects with our evolutionary history. This connects with the origins of language and communication and what it means to be social as an individual, what it means to have caution, and what it means to be graceful in the light of what unfolds of life. You see, in his personality moon, we have the enchanter in the gate of openness. And then his personality sun, we have the prophet in the line of caution. So he's going to be cautious, and yet he's still got a message he's going to get out there for influence. Because, you know, he's going to enchant you with how open he is to what can possibly happen. So we have somebody who's a social being designed to communicate and be cautious in social situations, and yet to be prophetic, to really strive to have influence. We have somebody who's willing to try again and try again and try again and try again. We have somebody who is judgmental, not in the negative sense. We have somebody who is judgmental in the logical collective sense. We have somebody who is always trying to correct the pattern. You see, this is a channel electromagnetic between the 1858 and the 4816 that gives the raw energy drive of the adrenal glands into the survival principles of the spleen, all the way into the communication and manifestation of the throat. This is a deeply logical process all about perfecting the pattern. And what is that pattern about? Well, it's about communicating his willpower. What is his willpower all about? What is the transmission he's sending? What is he trying to sell? Well, if we look in the light, this 4253 is all about balanced development through the abstract, cyclical process of returning to the old and seeing it anew, of going into experiences, experiencing the beginning, the middle, and the end, complete cycles of experience. And so if we were to look at his albums, at his music albums, you would perhaps see that there is a story being told over time, and each album could bring out a new flavor in that story. Each album could bring in nuances and differences in his own evolution as a 4-6, going through the process of being alive and gaining new perspectives. You see, the 4-6 is a very interesting profile because Both of its lines, the fourth line and the sixth line, are in transpersonal placements. This is obsessed with the other, and yet we're dealing with a personal destiny. This is the last personal destiny before the 4-1 juxtaposition cross, which is followed by the truly transpersonal profiles where you have a fifth or a sixth line in the personality. So this is somebody with a personal destiny that is wrapped up with all kinds of other people. This is somebody who has a lot of opportunity for influence throughout many different networks. This is somebody who tends to be on the outskirts, who tends to be kind of skirting around the outside of, yeah, I'm connected over here, I'm connected over there, I'm connected over here, I'm connected over there. I know all these people here, I know all those people there, and there's a little influence over here, and there's a little influence over there, and they just keep on purveying around, seeing all these different things, not necessarily getting deeply attached and identified with any one person or group. He's a single definition after all. He's contained within himself. And yet he still wants to have this influence throughout all kinds of different people and places and things. Something very fascinating I saw is there is not a single exaltation or detriment in his entire unconscious design, which I found very fascinating. However, in the conscious personality, there was a couple that I found very interesting, such as the detriment in his personality Mercury in the line of momentum, that success breeds success, a tendency with early success to haste and imprudent action, the pressure based on success to be impatient for something new. You know, I've done it once before, it worked, so now I'm going to hurry on and get the next one out quickly, regardless of whether it was really thought out or really felt through or not. In his focusing, there is an impressionability that becomes confused when confronted with a multiplicity of stimulations, and in trying to accommodate all of it, becomes unstable. Energy which becomes unstable when overstimulated. And so there's this quality of his own stimulation and being stimulated by life that there can be too much stimulation that can draw into a lack of clarity. Like, wow, there's so much going on, I have lost sight of the point. And I tried to rush it along. And lastly, over here, we see the line blaze of glory in the gate of the game player. This is sacrifice rather than capitulation to the law of deterioration, regeneration and renewal, no matter what the price. The deep intuitive drive to win, no matter the cost. And I just thought that was pretty beautiful, seeing as how he had kind of publicly had a big win with the Super Bowl, and how he's willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to hurry these things along and to hopefully not be too stimulated while he transmits this message of his own personal cyclical development and his willingness to be social, because he's collectively practicing his patterns over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so what's the sacrifice? Well, it's most likely his time and energy. It's his ego, his heart, his willpower. How much of my own will can I devote into my work? That's a lot of what I see here, is that he could, lacking emotional clarity as an emotional being, he could overwork himself into practicing and perfecting this pattern until he gets so pushed that his ability to be social gets disrupted. So maybe in party circumstances, he could get a little wild and lose track of his clarity and operate without the truth in the now. As an emotional defined being, there is no truth in the now. It doesn't matter how certain you pretend to be, you don't have access to truth. But you can pretend to be certain about something that doesn't matter in order to receive love and direction. Especially as a single definition manifesting generator like he is. Very powerful and charismatic force, determined to pressure forward, no matter what the cost. And my hope for you is that you can exist with yourself, no matter what the cost. You see, each of these lines, whether they're beautiful or disturbing, they are what they are. This is real life after all. It's not about judging and saying something is wrong or judging and saying something is better than something else. This is about seeing who and what you are as a unique individual in this life, learning to honor that. Whether you're a generator who needs to respond, whether you're a manifester who needs to inform, whether you're a projector who needs to wait for the recognition and invitation, whether you're a reflector and you truly need to learn patience and waiting for the moon's lunar cycles. Each one of us has a mechanism for making decisions in this life correctly and polishing the unique difference that is available from the inside out. So if you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out. And regardless, hope you're having a wonderful day. Take care. Bye for now. If you have enjoyed the show and would like to learn more about how all of this applies specifically to you, then kindly refer to the link in this video's description, Private Consultation. Here, we can dive into all of the details together in a recorded call. May your signature vibration of satisfaction, success, peace, and surprise find you in a good way.